My name is Alicia, and at 37 years old, I finally earned my doctoral degree after 7 exhausting years of weekend classes, working full-time and raising 3 children. I should have been elated standing on that stage, but all I could see were 6 empty seats in the audience reserved for the family who never showed. I clutched my diploma, surrounded by celebrating graduates, yet completely alone. My achievement meant everything to me, but apparently nothing to them. The real gut punch came after the ceremony when my phone lit up with an urgent message from my wife. If you have ever felt betrayed by the people who should have been your biggest supporters, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe to join a community who understands that family disappointment cuts deeper than any other pain. For the past 14 years, I had been married to Rebecca, a 39-year-old marketing director with a demanding position at an advertising agency in Portland. Together, we had 3 children. Marcus, our 16-year-old son, who was deep in his rebellious phase, twins Lily and Owen, our energetic 12-year-olds, who were becoming increasingly absorbed in their extracurricular activities. We lived in a comfortable split-level home in the suburbs, nothing extravagant, but adequate with a finished basement where the kids spent most of their time during Oregon's rainy months. I worked at Anderson and Associates, a respected accounting firm where I had been employed for nearly 11 years. My position as a tax accountant was grueling, often requiring 60-plus hours per week, especially during tax season or when corporate clients needed urgent filings. I was exceptional at what I did, meticulous with details and diplomatic with challenging clients. But year after year, I watched as my colleagues with fewer qualifications got promoted ahead of me. "You need advanced credentials," my supervisor would say during my performance reviews. "A bachelor's degree in accounting is standard, but everyone has that. If you want to move into partner track, you need a doctorate in taxation." After being passed over for promotion 4 times, I made my decision. I would get that doctoral degree in accounting, no matter what it took. The state university offered weekend intensive classes designed for working professionals. It would take 7 years of part-time study, including a dissertation, but I figured it was worth the investment in my future. What I didn't fully anticipate was how brutal the schedule would be. I would wake up at 5:00 a.m. to prepare breakfast for the family and organize lunches for the kids. Then I would work a full day, rush to class every Saturday and Sunday from 9:00 a.m. to 4:00 p.m., and come home drained to find laundry piled up and school projects that still needed supervision. On the rare weekdays I wasn't buried in work, instead of relaxing, I would isolate myself in our bedroom for hours to complete research and dissertations, while Rebecca took the kids to basketball practice or sleepovers. The twins had soccer tournaments nearly every weekend during spring and fall, and Marcus was involved in the debate team, which required travel to competitions across the state. "Mom is always locked away," I once overheard Marcus complain to his mother. "She never has time for us anymore. Other parents come to our events." Those words cut deep, but I tried to rationalize it. This was temporary. This was for our future. Once I had my degree and the partnership that would follow, we would have more financial security, maybe even enough for that family trip to Europe the kids had been asking about for years. I imagined taking them to Paris, to Rome, to all the places I had studied about in books but never had the time or money to visit. My relationship with my sister Dana complicated things further. 5 years younger than me at 32, Dana had always been the family favorite. She ran a thriving interior design business, lived in a renovated Victorian downtown, and as someone with no children, enjoyed the freedom to attend gallery openings and take spontaneous weekend trips to wine country. Our parents, who lived 1 state away in Northern California, never tried to hide their preference for her. When we were growing up, they attended every one of her dance recitals, hung her artwork on the refrigerator with pride, and bragged about her creativity to anyone who would listen. Meanwhile, they frequently missed my academic competitions, science fairs, and debate tournaments. When I brought home straight A's, the response was always the same. "That's nice, dear. Did you see Dana's latest painting?" As adults, the pattern continued. They would drop everything to help Dana with client presentations, spending entire weekends rearranging furniture for her portfolio shoots. But when I needed someone to watch the kids during my dissertation defense preparation, suddenly they had prior commitments they couldn't break. "Your sister is just more fun to be around," my mother once told me after I confronted her about this imbalance during a particularly vulnerable moment. "You're always so stressed and consumed with your obligations. Dana knows how to enjoy life." The irony wasn't lost on me that being responsible was somehow being held against me. I had chosen a stable career, started a family, pursued advancement through proper channels. Dana had taken risks, remained unencumbered by family responsibilities, and lived spontaneously. Yet somehow, in my parents' eyes, her choices made her more worthy of their time and attention. Despite these frustrations, I persevered with my studies. I wrote papers after the kids went to bed, often staying up until 2 or 3 in the morning, surviving on coffee and sheer determination. I reviewed research during my lunch breaks, eating at my desk while highlighting journal articles. I sacrificed holidays, using Christmas breaks and summer vacations to get ahead on coursework instead of taking the family on the trips we had always talked about. When friends invited us to gatherings or camping trips, I usually declined, knowing I needed those hours for school. Our social circle gradually shrank as people stopped extending invitations to the family that never showed up. Rebecca went to neighborhood barbecues alone, making excuses for my absence until people stopped asking where I was. Rebecca was supportive initially, picking up some of the slack at home and encouraging me when I felt overwhelmed. She learned to manage the household finances, coordinate the kids' schedules, and handle minor home repairs, all tasks we had previously shared. But as the years dragged on, her patience began to wear thin. "How much longer is this going to take?" she would ask, her voice carrying a weariness that scared me. "The kids barely see you anymore. Marcus graduates high school in 2 years. Are you going to miss that too?" "Just 3 more years." I would assure her. "Then 2 more years. Then just a few more months until my dissertation defense." The tension built slowly, like pressure in a sealed container. Small disagreements escalated more quickly. We stopped having date nights altogether. Our conversations became transactional, grocery lists, permission slips, bills that needed paying. The intimacy we had once shared faded into polite coexistence. By the time my graduation finally approached, our marriage was strained in ways I hadn't fully acknowledged. We still loved each other. I truly believed that. But the distance between us had grown into a canyon I wasn't sure how to cross. Rebecca had developed her own routines and friend groups, often taking the kids to community events or to visit her parents without me. I had missed so many family dinners, school performances, and weekend outings that it had become normal for them to function without me. The twins had learned to ride bikes without me there to cheer them on. Marcus had received his driver's license while I was in a Saturday seminar. Rebecca had handled a minor flood in the basement entirely on her own because I was locked in the university library working on my dissertation. I had become a ghost in my own home, present but absent, there but not really there. Which is why the graduation ceremony meant so much to me. It wasn't just about the degree or the partnership opportunities it would bring. It was a chance to show my family, especially my children, that all those sacrifices had been for something meaningful. I wanted them to see me walk across that stage, to feel proud of their parent, to understand that people could pursue education at any stage of life, that dedication and hard work mattered. I wanted that moment of recognition, that collective celebration that would make the past 7 years of exhaustion worthwhile. I wanted to look out into the audience and see their faces, know that they understood why I had missed so many soccer games and school plays. I wanted them to be proud of me the way I was proud of them. "When I graduate," I told Rebecca about 8 months before the end of my program, sitting at the kitchen table after the kids had gone to bed, "I want everyone there. You, the kids, my parents, even Dana and her partner. This is going to be a big day for all of us, a celebration of what we've all sacrificed together." She had nodded and squeezed my hand, her touch warm and familiar despite the distance between us. "Of course, babe. We wouldn't miss it for the world." How hollow those words would eventually sound. How completely I would misunderstand what the world meant to each of them. 8 months before my graduation ceremony, I began planning meticulously for what I envisioned would be one of the most important days of my life. The university had sent an email with all the details, including the limited number of guest tickets each graduate would receive. Doctoral candidates received more tickets than bachelor's or master's graduates, recognizing the significance of the achievement and the likelihood of having larger support networks after so many years of study. I immediately requested the maximum allocation of 8 tickets, one each for Rebecca, Marcus, Lily, Owen, my mom, my dad, Dana, and Dana's partner, Jordan. I created a spreadsheet tracking who needed tickets, who was confirmed, travel arrangements, and hotel bookings. It was excessive, perhaps, but project management had become second nature after years of juggling work, school, and family. I called my parents in California to give them the date, which they dutifully wrote down on their calendar. I could hear my mother repeating it back to my father in the background, hear the scratch of pen on paper. "We'll do our best to make it, sweetie," my mother said in a tone that suggested she was already considering what might be more important. "June can be tricky with your father's golf tournament schedule, but we'll try." Golf tournaments? I swallowed my immediate reaction and remained optimistic. This was my doctoral graduation, after all. Surely they would prioritize it over recreational activities. Next, I reached out to Dana, who lived in Portland with her partner, Jordan. Unlike our parents, she seemed genuinely excited for me when I first mentioned it. "I'm so proud of you," she said, her enthusiasm seeming authentic. "Working full-time, raising kids, and getting a doctorate. You're incredible. That's like superhuman. I'll block out the date right now." I heard the click of her computer keyboard as she presumably added it to her digital calendar. For a moment, I felt a warmth toward my sister that had been absent for years. Maybe she had changed. Maybe she would finally show up for me the way I had always shown up for her. With family attendance seemingly secured, I turned my attention to the celebration afterward. I researched restaurants near the university and found a highly rated French bistro called Le Jardin that could accommodate our party of 9. The reviews were exceptional, elegant but not stuffy, with a private dining room available for special occasions. It was expensive, nearly $400 for the reservation and required deposit, but this was a once-in-a-lifetime occasion. I had been frugal for 7 years, brown-bagging lunches and skipping coffee shop stops to save money for tuition. I could afford this one splurge. I put down the deposit without hesitation, imagining us all gathered around a table, toasting with champagne, finally celebrating together as a family. Since my parents would be traveling from out of state, I also booked them a hotel suite at the Hilton downtown, using points I had accumulated through business travel over the years. The suite had a separate bedroom and living area, a view of the river, and was within walking distance of the university. I wanted everything to be perfect, to remove any possible obstacle to their attendance. Everything was falling into place, and for once, I allowed myself to feel excitement rather than stress when thinking about school. The finish line was in sight. My dissertation committee had approved my defense date. My research was solid. The end of this long journey was finally approaching. 3 months before graduation, I splurged on a new suit, a sophisticated charcoal gray 3-piece with subtle pinstripes that would look appropriate under my graduation gown, but sharp for the dinner afterward. I went to an actual tailor, something I had never done before, and had it fitted properly. The cost made me wince, but the reflection in the mirror made it worthwhile. I scheduled appointments for a haircut and a professional shave on the morning of the ceremony. These were luxuries I rarely indulged in, always putting family expenses first. New cleats for the twins, debate tournament fees for Marcus, the mortgage, the endless stream of bills that came with raising 3 children. "You look really nice, Dad," Owen said when I tried on the suit at home, his eyes wide with something that looked like admiration. "Like when you and Mom got married in those pictures." His comment brought unexpected tears to my eyes. I couldn't remember the last time I had dressed up for anything other than a client meeting or a rare court appearance. The daily grind of juggling responsibilities had left little time for personal care beyond basic hygiene and wrinkled business casual. "Thanks, buddy," I managed to say, ruffling his hair. "I want to look my best for the big day." "We'll all be there," Lily chimed in from the doorway, where she had been watching. "Mom said we're getting dressed up too. I get to wear my recital dress." Their certainty, their innocent assumption that of course they would be there for this important moment, filled me with a hope I hadn't felt in months. Maybe this would be the turning point. Maybe this ceremony would remind us all what we meant to each other. 4 weeks before graduation, the first hint of trouble appeared. Dana called to catch up, something she did sporadically when she remembered she had a sibling, usually every few months when she wanted to share news about a new client or design award. After asking perfunctory questions about my studies and making appropriate impressed sounds when I mentioned my dissertation topic, she dropped a bombshell so casually it took me a moment to process it. "By the way, I'm hosting a massive garden party at my place on June 12th. I just finished a major renovation project. You should see what we did with the outdoor space. It's absolutely stunning, and I want to show it off. You guys should come. The kids would love the outdoor art installations Jordan created." My stomach dropped like a stone. The date echoed in my head. June 12th, June 12th. "Dana, that's my graduation day. I told everyone months ago." There was a pause on the line, and I could almost see her checking her calendar, her perfectly manicured fingers scrolling through her phone. "Oh, right, I forgot about that." Her tone was light, dismissive even. "Can you change it?" Can you change it? As if I could simply call the university and request they reschedule commencement because of a garden party. "Can you change your garden party to another weekend?" I asked, trying desperately to keep my voice level, to sound reasonable rather than panicked. "Not really," she replied, sounding genuinely unconcerned. "I've already sent out invitations to like 40 people, including potential clients who are only available that weekend. Plus, I hired a caterer and a string quartet. Everything's locked in. But hey, when does your ceremony end? Maybe you can stop by afterward." I felt my blood pressure rising, my chest tightening with that familiar sensation of being overlooked, minimized, treated as an afterthought in my own family. "The ceremony is at 1:00 p.m. and will probably go until 4:00. Then we have dinner reservations at 5:30. But that's not the point. My family is supposed to be at my graduation." "Come on, Alicia," Dana said with that dismissive tone she had perfected since childhood, that breezy condescension that made me feel simultaneously invisible and overly sensitive. "It's just a graduation. You already had one for your bachelor's and one for your master's degrees. This is just another piece of paper saying you took some extra classes." I was speechless. Just another piece of paper. 7 years of sacrifice, 7 years of missing bedtimes and school plays and family vacations, 7 years of exhaustion and stress and guilt, reduced to some extra classes. A doctorate, the highest academic achievement possible, dismissed as casually as if I had taken a weekend pottery workshop. Before I could formulate a response that wasn't purely profanity, Dana continued, oblivious to the hurt spreading through my chest like poison. "Look, Mom and Dad are coming to my garden party. They already confirmed. And they're bringing Aunt Carol and Uncle Jim who are visiting from Arizona. You know how rarely we see them. They're only in town for that one weekend." Now I was truly seeing red. My vision actually blurred at the edges. "You told Mom and Dad about your garden party before checking with me about the date, even though you knew my graduation was coming up." "I didn't realize it was such a big deal," she said defensively. "You're 37, not 22. It's not like this is your first rodeo. And honestly, doctoral graduations are kind of boring, aren't they? Just sitting there listening to hundreds of names being called. My party will be much more enjoyable for everyone, especially the kids." We argued for another 15 minutes. Dana refused to budge. I grew increasingly upset. She kept returning to the same points, that she'd already committed to her party, that extended family was traveling from out of state, that rescheduling 40 guests and vendors would be impossible. What about how difficult this is for me? I finally said, my voice breaking. What about 7 years of sacrifice? This is the biggest achievement of my life. You're being dramatic, she said, and I could hear the eye roll. I'm not asking you to skip your graduation. My party just happens to be the same day. People can choose. By the time I hung up, I was shaking. I stared at the framed photos of my children on my desk and felt something crack. The pattern was familiar. I'd been foolish to think this time would be different. I called my mother immediately. Mom, Dana scheduled a garden party on my graduation day. You can't go to that instead. She used the neutral tone she reserved for moments when she'd already chosen sides. Oh dear, what bad timing. Can't one of you reschedule? The university doesn't change commencement dates, I said. I told you about this 8 months ago. Well, she sighed, your aunt and uncle are flying in and your father loves Dana's parties. Can't we come to both? I pulled up the map, 43 miles. Graduation ended at 4, the party started at 2. No, you have to choose. I don't know why you're making this so complicated, Alicia, she said. Can't you just be happy we're all together as a family? And I haven't had a doctoral graduation in my life, I snapped. Dana can have a party any weekend. That's not fair to your sister. The conversation unraveled from there. By the time she began talking about what she planned to wear, I hung up hollow. That night, I told Rebecca everything. She listened, rubbing my back. Your family's always been like this, she said gently. But we'll be there, me and the kids, that's what matters. Promise, I asked. I promise. I clung to that. The day before graduation passed in careful preparation. I picked up my cap and gown, polished my shoes, laid out my suit. The doctoral regalia felt heavier than my previous gowns, velvet trim, a hood marking my field. It felt earned. Still, anxiety lingered. 3 days earlier, my parents had emailed to say they'd attend Dana's party instead, offering to take me to dinner next time. I deleted the message without replying. My sister-in-law called to say their youngest was sick and they couldn't travel. I understood. It still hurt. At least I have you 4, I said that evening. Rebecca nodded, distracted by her phone. When my mother called during dinner, my stomach dropped. She wanted to confirm the kids for tomorrow, my mother said. Dana's planned activities just for them, face painting, a petting zoo, a magician. What? I said. They're coming to my graduation. Oh, she said, confused. Dana said Rebecca mentioned bringing them. I ended the call and turned to my wife. Why does my mother think you're taking the kids to the party? Rebecca avoided my eyes. They were excited. They heard about the animals. And you told Dana without talking to me. The ceremony will be long, she said. The kids will be bored, Marcus especially. So instead of teaching them to show up for family, I said, we teach them that fun comes first. That's not fair, she said. They've already sacrificed a lot for this degree. The words hit hard. You want to take our children to a party instead of watching me graduate. Can't we compromise? She asked. I'll take them and we'll meet you after. This isn't scheduling, I said. This is support. You're being dramatic, she muttered. You'll still get the degree. The same words, from everyone. When the kids came downstairs, they sided with her. Marcus scoffed. Lily wanted baby goats. Owen asked if we could do both. Go to the party, I said quietly, if that's what you want. I went to bed alone. I barely slept. In the morning, the house was silent. On the counter was a note. Took the kids to Dana's early. We'll try to make it back. Congratulations. We'll try. I followed the schedule anyway. Haircut, shave, suit, gown. I posted a photo online, smiling badly. Congratulations poured in from coworkers, friends, strangers. I texted Rebecca. She replied late, mentioning a child named Ethan getting hurt. We didn't have an Ethan. I drove to campus numb, watching families gather. During lineup, my phone buzzed with kind messages from my advisor and a work friend. None from my family. I scanned the audience anyway. When my name was called, I stood straighter. Alicia Marie Williams, Doctor of Philosophy. I crossed the stage, shook hands, accepted the diploma case, moved the tassel. The applause was polite. No cheers, no voices calling my name. Afterward, families celebrated on the lawn. I lingered on the edges, took photos with classmates, checked my phone. Nothing. Then I saw Dana's post. My parents, my wife, my children smiling at the party. Timestamped during my walk across the stage. I cried behind the humanities building. As I canceled the restaurant reservation, my phone lit up. We need to talk. Urgently, call me now. I noticed the missed calls, 47. I called her back. It's Owen, she said, panicked. He fell. We're at Mercy Hospital. They think his leg is broken.